You hit your head and blank out, waking up in a hospital, but as you wake, millions of lines of text fly by in your vision. Turns out that humans have been getting patched for centuries, but nobody has ever updated before, because we only ever go into sleep mode. You just had a proper reboot. My mother raised me mostly by herself. She worked as the sole receptionist of an auto shop where she dated a string of men with two first names, James Taylor, Ben Hunter, David Cameron, and so on and so forth. It was a similarity I had with them since my own name was Chase Hudson. Each of my potential stepfathers had tried to teach me little things that their own fathers had taught them. One had taught me how to throw a baseball, one had taught me how to shave, another how to change the oil of a car, though what 10-year-old needs to learn how to do that? One in particular, the last of the men with two first names, Ellis Reed, taught me how to run. He had been a runner all his life of all distances. He had met my mom when I was 14 and bubbling with acne and grease. He told me running would save me from that mess, and so I believed him. He taught me to stay light on my feet, how to start slowly, only breathing at first through your nose. He told me about the mythical runner's high which he had no longer been able to achieve after seeing what life was like after dating my mom. Sure enough, Ellis had become my stepdad in record time. We ran together often after that, my mom joining us on a few occasions. When are track tryouts? He asked one morning. In the spring, I replied. He wasn't young when he started dating my mom, and his age showed through the whites in his beard and the prominent, varicose veins in his arms and calves. That's plenty of time, he said mid-stride. He was still breathing through his nose, still as composed as he always was. Running wasn't as simple as Ellis made it sound, and as a matter of fact, it hadn't helped clear any of my acne, nor did it help moisturize my greasy hair. You must have gotten that from your grandpa, Mom had said. Weeks passed and I experienced exactly 0 runner's highs. If I were a numbers man, I would actually say that I experienced a much higher number of runner's lows. The cramps came early and they stayed no matter how much I stretched. My lungs pleaded with me for air, and Ellis told me that no matter how much they beg, I shouldn't give in. You can't die from running, Chase, Ellis said. And I trusted him. I told my lungs to shut the hell up. I put one foot after another until I couldn't. The next thing I knew, I really did experience a runner's high. I couldn't feel anything, which compared to the innumerable cramps and burning, was heavenly. Ellis, I think you were right about this whole running thing, I said. Or at least I tried to say. Nothing came out of my voice and all I saw was black. It's hard to say what I saw then, because Jesus knows that it wasn't a dream, because why would anyone want to dream about the boring, sterile hospital room? A hospital room that I had never seen in my life. I couldn't move my body, my limbs. I was frozen. There were lines and lines of words in a terrible, nearly illegible font. They scrolled past my eyes in quick succession. This happened for nearly as long as it took a nurse to actually notice that I was awake, and anyone who has ever been to a hospital knows that it means that I saw these lines of text for hours and hours. When the text ended, it displayed one line, more legible than the rest, that read changelog human 8.614419. I could feel my joints unlock and I felt it in my body. Let me go grab your mom, the nurse said. I heard her voice clearly, I could see her clearly. I felt at the top of my head, and I felt the roughness of the cheap bandages they had used to wrap up whatever had happened to me. I tried to remember what happened, and the images came back in crisp, perfect images. I was on the road with Ellis. I felt the air, the freshness of the air that only existed during the early summer mornings. I could feel the steps I was taking, how badly my lungs were burning, the cramp so visceral that it made my legs tremble even now. I fast-forwarded the memory until a moment before I blacked out. I saw it then. A smooth, impossibly black stone. I stepped on it and slipped. The memory stopped. What the hell is happening? My mom and Ellis rushed through the door. Oh baby, are you okay? My mom asked. She went straight for the bed before I could even say that I felt just fine. In fact, I felt great aside from my legs and lungs that were still recoiling from the vivid memories of the runner's low. I'm fine, I said, my voice muffled, drowned out by my mother's shoulder. You had us real scared there, bud, Ellis said. The nurse had left the room and brought along Dr. Wilkins, who looked not nearly old enough to be a doctor that could properly diagnose brain damage. He had separated me from my mother, forcing her into one of the chairs in the room despite her protests. We ran some tests, Dr. Wilkins said. Chase is fine. At worst it's a little concussion and a scratch that might scar if you pick at it. Are you sure? Mom asked. Positive, Dr. Wilkins said. We don't have the results from the MRI quite yet, but he's responding well and woke up fine. Of course, we're going to keep him here overnight and you're welcome to stay. Geez, Ellis said. I'll pay for everything, Marcia. Sorry about all this, Chase. I shrugged. The doctor and Ellis and my mom talked more about the minute details of what I was allowed to do and what I was going to have to do in the coming days and weeks. I heard whispers that it wasn't going to be too expensive, that Ellis and my mom had generous enough insurance policies. In all that time, I could feel myself breathing. My sinuses were clear, both nostrils even. I felt it my face and noticed it was smooth, impossibly smooth, like that black stone I tripped over. Can I go to the bathroom? I asked. Out the door and to the right, Dr. Wilkins said. We'll send a nurse in after you if you don't report back in a few minutes though. He offered a wink and it weirdly did not feel offensive or pushy. I walked myself to the bathroom, and when I walked in front of the mirror, I saw my face. My face was clear, I could see it clear as day that my face and hair were clean. How? How was this possible? The only part of my body that hurt was a minor dull in my knees and a soft pain in my mouth. I opened it and saw the teeth behind my molars wiggling around as I moved my tongue around, inspecting each tooth. I reached in with my hand and pulled out 4 teeth with ease. They had been sitting in my gums unnaturally jagged. I spit out the blood once or twice, but the wound had closed itself in seconds. I heard knocking on the door. "Are you all right in there, son?" a voice asked. "Yes. I'll be right out," I replied. I tossed the teeth into the trash and walked back into the hospital room where my parents were still deliberating details and permissions with the doctor. I thought about how tired I was and decided I should sleep. My body and brain were in seemingly agreeable moods because the sleep came quickly and easily. I woke up not in the hospital room, but a room of dark gray and navy blue. There was a desk with a computer, keyboard, and monitor. The room smelled not unlike my own room in its worst days. There was a black chair, all leather, and a man slouched over the chair. He was typing furiously, huffing the same way I did when I ran. "This fucking fucker," he muttered. "Me?" I asked aloud. The man jumped, literally, out of his seat and grabbed at the things nearest to him, which were 2-liter bottles of soda. He yelped and stared at me. "Oh," he said. He put the soda down. "It's just you, just me?" I asked. "You're Chase, right? Chase Hudson?" the man asked. I nodded. "Who are you?" "That's not really that important right now," he said. "What is important is that you wake up and then live your new life. You have an opportunity that almost no one in the world has. You can do anything you want. You're going to live to be 200, you'll never be sick, never die of disease. If you die before that, you probably piss someone off, but even then I built you to be able to recover from most injuries." The words made sense in my brain, but I had to think about what he was saying. "See," he said. "Literally right now, I am telling you things that are batshit crazy, but you're just listening. Calmly listening, no awkward anxiousness. No sweating or pissing your pants. Just honest listening, like how it should be. You're the new face of the human race, kid. So what do I do now?" I asked. "Anything you want.